There are three basic aspects of argument analysis that we need to be able to show the examiners. In effect, the task that you are presented with in argument analysis is this question: how does the author use language and also actually visual techniques to persuade? So we need to show the examiners that we know about persuasive devices. That's the first thing. What kind of persuasive techniques are there? What are their different effects? And in specific, how do they impact particular audiences? The second most important thing we have to show is understanding of argument. How does an argument progress through a piece? You want to be able to show that you know what an author's overall contention is, but at the same time, you also have to be able to show why they might start or end a particular way and how they build certain arguments based on previous ones they've made. For example, if someone's writing an article criticizing a particular movement, they might open by outlining all the reasons why they used to support the movement or why they wished it was a good thing. In this way, they're opening with positive things so as to show that they're not just a naysayer, but someone who has thought in a considered way about the topic. So that's kind of the nuances of argument that you want to get into. These are your first two things. So how are we actually going to do that, and what is VCAR looking for more specifically? The 9 to 10 grade range is the one that we really care about because everything else is just a diluted form of that. If you look at any of the task requirements in a Section C exam question or any argument analysis SACs, you'll see that they have three main criteria. 1. Perceptive understanding of the arguments presented and points of views expressed. That's what we said. What's their overall contention? How do their sub-arguments shift throughout the piece in order to show their argument in the best light? What you have to show the examiner is how well can you work out what someone is actually saying and why they did it that way in particular. If you can show this, you'll put yourself ahead of a lot of other students because this is actually one of the most difficult parts of argument analysis. Secondly, demonstrate sophisticated insight into the ways in which written and visual language is used to persuade. So that's the persuasive devices and visual analysis we were talking about up here. What persuasive techniques are there in a piece? What persuasive elements are there in an image? What are their effects individually? How do they impact audiences? And in particular, how do they impact audiences in this situation? Those are your two main criteria, and those are the ones most within your control. But the third criterion is this: uses language fluently and effectively. This is basically how well you can write. Examiners won't necessarily mark you down a particular amount for writing poorly, but it definitely factors in English in a way that it doesn't in other subjects. Your ability to communicate your ideas is limited by your ability to express yourself fluently and effectively. You'll be much better at communicating your argument if you can write clearly. So the more that you can work on this, the better you will do in the final exam, because the better you'll be able to communicate all those great ideas that you want to share. This takes a lot of practice, so don't be surprised if it takes you a lot of essays and a lot of writing to get there. It's slow, but it is very worthwhile, and you feel very much more in control of things and much better able to express yourself when you are used to explaining those complex ideas in a simple way. So, our three main goals of argument analysis, to recap, are understanding of persuasive techniques, understanding of overall arguments and argument progression, and ability to write clearly. So, if you have a look at the VCAR marking guide, you'll see it's exactly the same. Understanding of argument, understanding of persuasive techniques, understanding and effective use of language. Again, VCAR marks holistically, so they're not going to take away a set number of marks if you miss a criterion of any kind. However, the better you write and the more cohesively you write, the more you'll be rewarded by the markers. Again, you can see the same things in here. So you have to analyze how argument and language are used to persuade others. You have to look at written, spoken, and visual language, so persuasive techniques, images. Ultimately, this is what the VCAR criteria look like. You can see there's elements of argument and language, and how they persuade others. Just focus on those 3 criteria we discussed above. Again, if you look at the Section C mark ranges published on VCAR's website, the 9 to 10 one we've already gone through, and you can see that 8, 7, 6, 5, and so on are just diluted versions of these 3 criteria. 1, do you know what the arguments are and why they progress the way they do? 2, how good is your knowledge of persuasive techniques and how they're used in this piece to affect audiences? 3, how well can you write? If you're able to show these 3 things, that's all you need to do for a really successful argument analysis piece. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you would like more content like this, please hit subscribe. And if you found this valuable, please hit that like button or send to someone else you think could use this. Your shares help us grow our audience so we can help more students for free. Happy studying!